Apparently, we are live. How exciting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to this very special Kickstarter edition of our quarantine hangout. Now, if you've been living under a rock, perhaps you don't know that we've got a Kickstarter coming very soon indeed. I, for one, am thoroughly excited. I'm sure you are all as well. And what's perhaps even more important is who am I here with today? Well, as always, Simon, well, not as always, but very often, Simon has joined us. Simon is the UK head of our Wayfarers program. And we will be talking about joining the Wayfarers program, how you might go about that if you are interested in doing so. And we are also here with Dominic, aka Yoka, aka Blue Wing. Why are you aka Blue Wing? And that's one you've got to explain.
Because I am Blue Wing. I am the head behind Blue Wing, and yeah, I created Blue Wing in my mind, and you created Blue Wing on the tabletop.
Indeed. So basically, the backstory is that during our first Kickstarter 3 years ago now, slightly, in fact, 3 years ago, the Kickstarter was running. At this time, 3 years ago, we had a special pledge level that you could design your own character and add it to the Drowned World. And if you wanted to design your own race and have a character of a particular race that didn't exist at the moment, and that was also an option. And you went for a crazy bird guy, but a crazy bird guy with a bit of an angle and a bit of a backstory, right?
Yeah, a bit. I played a game called Starbound before. It's a computer game, and there are a specific race you could play, the Avians, and I created Captain Polaris T Blue Wing in that game, and then there come James with the Kickstarter, and I thought to myself, yeah, why not?
Yeah, and he so how happy were you with the final sculpt in the end?
Oh, I was mind blown. It was I described him to you as a bit of Firefly's Captain Malcolm Reynolds, and the concept art was a perfect match to that.
Yeah.
And then I saw the sculpt, and it was mind blowing. It was just awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea that because he's an avian, but he doesn't actually. The bird people in the Drowned Earth don't actually have wings. They've got, you know, arms like you and me. But he liked the idea of having wings, so sort of Icarus style went and made himself a metal set of wings, which might not necessarily mean allow him to fly, but they certainly allow him to glide gracefully off the edge of buildings.
He's working on the flying part.
Exactly.
Falling with style. Falling with style.
And reflected in the rules, right? The sort of leaping down part of things. But yeah, no,
I love that nobody questions whether there's another Blue Wing, but it's only ever Kalhana.
Yeah.
Is there another Kalhana? We'll forget about Blue Wing. He can be on his own. He's amazing on his own.
I think everyone's just sad the idea of Kalhana being the last of his race is a bit sad, and everybody wants him to find a girlfriend or something. Well, who have we got in the chat? Sean is there. Snowiak, who I think, if I remember rightly, we first met in the Monkeys with Fire Twitch channel. Christoph Asmus, who also is a great supporter. I see him saying hello there. Christoph is brilliant for sharing things. Whenever we post something on Facebook, he's one of the first people to share and beat the drum and help get the word out. And of course, that's really essential when it comes to, you know, any miniatures game, any small company, but especially when you're you know, an independent company and you don't necessarily have the same marketing budget as some of the big guys. When members of the community really step up and help out with that kind of promotion, it's invaluable. And Dominic, I remember you doing a lot of that kind of stuff during the campaign.
Yeah.
That's what you say. I remember there being quite a lot. But
I'm an enthusiastic person, so I have to do what I have to do.
And why not? And why not?
Yeah.
Hello to Hannes and Sven as well. So, topic of conversation today, I think we're going to talk a little bit about the Kickstarter, but also before we do, you know, this is a kind of quarantine hangout, very relaxed and informal. If anybody's got any questions in the chat, we'd love to hear them. We are using, as you can see in the top right, we're using different software. We were using Zoom, we're now using StreamYard, which means that we can actually see the chat while we're streaming, which is great. Yes, I thought, well, first of all, we'd have a little bit of a talk about what is in the UK. I think we're in week 5 or week 6 of quarantine. I've lost track.
It feels like day 7,500 in the Big Brother house, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm hoping
I can
to
hear a guy with a Newcastle accent in my head as I'm walking around.
Personally hoping to be eliminated at some point soon.
Yeah, you have been evicted. Yes.
I might do a Jack D and just jump over the wall at some point.
Yeah. And Dom, you've gone back to work, I think, right?
I'm at short work time, so part-time work, part-time home, less money, but more time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and Germany has started to go slowly back into normal mode.
Mm-hmm.
What isn't really that good from a standpoint of many scientists.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see what we get out of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to talk too much about the political or the news side of things, because you know, we're all inundated with it. I remember my girlfriend said to me the other day, she's an avid. She spends every morning slowly waking up with her phone reading the Guardian website and the BBC website. She said, I've stopped reading the news. It's just the same story told differently. And
Yes.
for 5 weeks, there's been nothing in the news. I'm like,
Keep asking the
of
same
course not.
question
Nobody's
until you
leaving the
get
house,
answer
so nothing else could happen. But
the same question until you get the answer you want.
yeah, exactly. So it's all a bit depressing. But you guys have done in Germany have done fantastically well at getting on top of this thing long before and much more securely than any of the other like large European nations have done. You're the only European nation with a population above 50 million that has managed to control it. Everybody else let it get out of control.
Tell that some of the Germans who say otherwise.
Yeah, well, you know, you always have those people, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the dangers of letting up, and you know, it's happening in America now as well. People are sort of wanting it to happen. You know, just look at those Spanish flu graphs of you know, when they relaxed, they spiked, they brought in a whole load of social distancing. They dipped and then they let go of it a little bit and it spiked back up again. And, you know, that's what you don't want, obviously. But depressing conversation. Let's not talk about that. So somebody's got some news about a Kickstarter or something like that, apparently.
Kickstarter?
No. I don't really know what Kickstarter is.
Printable Scenery did a good Kickstarter, yeah, but Kickstarter, something new, I don't know.
Yeah, it must be something new. All the cool kids are talking about it.
Yeah, you're not allowed to deliver on time, remember?
Not allowed. Yeah, I broke the rules first time around. Although I want to stop talking about that, because all it'll do is set an expectation for this next one. And it's not always within your control. All I can say is I absolutely in 2017 I gave it my all, both in terms of the campaign and in terms of the delivery and all of the rest of it. And I fully intend on doing the same thing. But that process taught me not only that part of the reason why some people don't deliver on time is because they don't get on top of what they have to do and they don't have full control. And it also taught me that you can't eliminate the possibility, because there's a reason why huge companies don't announce game releases until the shipping container is on the ship. It's because it's just a really unpredictable process, and you just can't control it all. And I certainly feel for people like the Leader Games, who made the Root board game. I don't know if any of you know that. Has anyone in the chat played Root? But Leader Games is currently trying to deliver an expansion to Root, which I backed, and they're tearing their hair out because they're late and there have been problems, and some of it is coronavirus related, but certainly not all of it. And I feel for them, because it does seem like it's not their fault, that they really care about their reputation. And it makes me care a lot less about the companies who just don't get their act together. And don't.
It's pretty clear which companies it's through no fault of trying, and the other ones that just think I'll pocket your money.
Yeah, I think usually, and sometimes it's inexperience. But this next Kickstarter, which we're talking about, we'll have a little teaser trailer, which I don't think many people have seen. In fact, let's have a look at that now before we let's see. I don't think I shared screen
ladies and gentlemen,
on this one first, but tells me screen share is easiest with 2 monitors. Well, I'm afraid that's not going to happen.
Maybe after the Kickstarter you can afford a second one, James.
Well, when I've delivered the Kickstarter, maybe I can afford a second one.
Although your other half might steal that as well as the PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, she's working on the TV, so this is our our situation at the moment is working from home but working from the TV. So I can share the screen, but I have multiple desktops, and I want to share the one I want to share. All right. Well, let's give this a go. Yeah, do you know what? I'm not going to be able to do this. I do understand why it says you need 2 screens with this. It's fine on Zoom, but I'm afraid this software isn't giving me the option to share. I've got multiple desktops on my laptop.
I do have 2 monitors. Should I try to share it?
Yeah, if you still have the link to it.
I have a look.
Well, while we're waiting, just the sort of brief explanation is, I think I know what I might be able to do a bit later, but anyway, explanation, we have a little teaser video for the up and coming Kickstarter, and if anyone who has clearly been living under a rock isn't aware of what it is, this will tell you absolutely nothing, so don't get too excited, but it's kind of cool. I'm quite proud of it. I'm not a professional video editor, but I made it.
It is
very good. You're very good at answering a question without an answer, though.
Yeah, I mean I should have been a politician, right?
Dang, where it is? Just a minute.
Bear with us, caller. James, quickly play Greensleeve.
Put you on hold. Yeah, I didn't bring my recorder.
James, I think you have to send me the link again.
That means I have to find the link. Okay.
You're doing that. Sven's asked us a question. Did the bondsman get a mounted miniature?
They did not, and that is coming. They will. So it won't be in this next Kickstarter for reasons which will become obvious as soon as anybody knows what the Kickstarter's about. But
concept art is worth the wait, though.
Well, yeah, it would be, but unfortunately, we haven't. For none of the mounted leaders, we didn't do concept art for them because the concept art for the character already exists, and so pairing the character with a dinosaur type that also already exists is not too difficult. Although in this case, we might do it with a dino type that isn't yet. Copy. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once, and it's not going particularly well. Right.
So in short, Sven, we got nothing to show you, but the things we've been discussing are very exciting in regard to the mounted bondsman.
Well, you know what? I can. There are two ways of getting around the nothing to share or not being able to share screen until I get a different setup going is concerned. But obviously not on the fly. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm hitting a technical difficulty.
So, where are the German people in the chat? Want to get you hyped?
Yeah. So the guys in the chat, what do you think of the few sneak peeks that we've leaked out so far of sculpts that are coming up? I know you were a little bit excited about them, Dominic.
A little bit.
It's almost like it's almost like the people have been shouting loud enough for pirates that James finally caved in.
I mean, it wasn't a particularly difficult cave, to be honest.
So, James, I think you could see the second screen of my screen share, and
let's make you the most important person. There we go. Yeah.
Ready, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, was it worth the wait? Also, unfortunately, we share your screen, but not the audio, which is worth knowing, I guess. So there we are, back to normal. But yeah, just a little teaser trailer there, and I think later on I did have a little slideshow, but I think what I'll do instead is show people a little one-page website with some things in it. Dominic, I think you might know the URL for that one as well. You could plug that in and share that. We could just have a little scroll through.
Just a moment.
So that will also be going live, and I'll tell you what. At the end of the chat, I'll link it. I'll link to people. Link it to people in chat, and we'll put it in the comments section below, so people can have a look. It's fairly text heavy. Some information about the Kickstarter and the game, which you've now seen with the teaser trailer, is called Ulaya Chronicles, and it is to explain. It started off as an AI expansion for the Drowned Earth, but really has transitioned very much into its own game, and so it's based on Drowned Earth mechanics. The larger part of the mechanics will be very familiar to anyone who plays the Drowned Earth already. There's a bunch of simplification. And the reason for the simplification is simply to make room for the AI mechanics and to make room for a much more, a sort of, how to put it, kind of campaign system, dungeon crawler style, maybe even like, it's not a legacy game, but maybe there's even some legacy-like mechanics in there, where there are certain things that happen earlier on which change things later and change the way that scenarios are played, and depending on your inter-game and during game choices, these are decisions that might come back to haunt you or reward you later on. And what we're about to show now is the just a quick informational website about the game, about the Kickstarter, answering some of the obvious questions, like, you know, can I use my Drowned Earth miniatures? And when I buy this, can I then use the miniatures from that in the Drowned Earth? The answer to both of those things is, well, the answer to the first is most of them, and the answer to the second is most of them. But there's a good amount of back and forth compatibility, particularly if you're interested in playing with AI dinos. But of course, any dinosaur model that's released in this Kickstarter will also have a Drowned Earth profile. And we might think about some of the characters as well as stretch goals, doing some play testing and working out some Drowned Earth rules for them. But anyway, Dominic, take it away. Let's maximize that screen, give us a scroll. But as you can see, this website's there's a fair amount of writing, and so if you want to read the writing, I'll link to it after the chat. But there are some pretty pictures here, some things that people have seen on Facebook recently. These are the so these are action cards. So this is the mechanic that drives the AI system, and each dino type will have a little deck of cards, and you flip a card to see their actions. That it's a sort of simple way of controlling the AI. So these are your protagonists. They will come unnamed, and we will look as stretch goals at giving them some arm swaps, maybe even a head swap or two, some different equipment, that sort of thing. So you'll be able to build them the way you like. And sculpts for these, we will be showing them soon enough. This is the board. This will just be a paper fold-out map that's included in the box. And there's some really cool detail on this that you can't see, but there's a little dead dinosaur skeleton by the river, and some wrecked machinery. So here we've got two more dino concepts. The one on the left, you've already seen the sculpts for those. They're the Sinoraptors rather. And on the right, those are Magnosaurs, which we may or may not see during the campaign. We'll have to see.
And that's it. But what's that?
That's all. Well, this is a link to for anyone. I imagine everyone who's watching this now will already be a member of or will have already subscribed to the email list. But for anybody who perhaps doesn't play the Drowned Earth, or doesn't know what it is, or has never heard of Elia Chronicles, and they want to know more, or they want to know when the Kickstarter goes live, if they sign up to that email list, then they will be notified. And we've also introduced some little tick boxes in the subscription to the mailing lists, so that if you're only interested in Elia Chronicles, or you're only interested in Drowned Earth, you can select that as a preference, so you won't get emails about both games if you are only interested in one of them. So we're very dedicated Drowned Earth Towers to minimizing the amount of spam that people get, because nobody likes spam, do they?
Can we get some love for this artwork especially? I love this island.
Well, so the sure. Hang on, let's right. Yes, well, the Kickstarter is for a game called Elia Chronicles, but this is what I hope will be the first installment in the Elia Chronicles series. So this will be a a single box campaign game cooperative solo experience with Drowned Earth mechanics, but with an AI system, and it's a series of interconnected games that you can play alone or with friends, which tell a story. And so the first installment of Alaya Chronicles is Alaya Chronicles Raptor Claw Island. And there will be other stories in the future, presuming people respond well to this and like it, and they want more. And then, you know, with those future releases, we'll have more dino types, maybe even some more and some different core rules, that kind of thing. But what we're looking at with this artwork is Raptor Claw Island, which is an island which I'm not going to say too much about for the moment, but there's plenty of mysteries going on here. You can see some skyscrapers poking out of the middle of this sort of the middle of this lagoon. Let me take Simon off mute. And then you can see some smoke rising from a little town there, and there are some boats or ships even floating out in the docks. And yeah, I think have you got any very, very directed questions which I might refuse to answer?
There is a question. Will the AI deck work in a standard TDE game too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So there isn't a single AI deck. Each dino type has a different AI deck. And the reason for that is because, I mean, I don't want to discuss or denigrate or be rude about other games, but one thing that I've always found missing with games that have an AI component to them is the AI either feels like it's artificial and random but not intelligent, or it feels reasonably intelligent but every enemy asset behaves the same. And of course, different dinosaurs have different enemies in general. The enemies won't all necessarily be dinos. We might have people enemies as well, but they behave differently and they have different tactics. Some are ambush predators, some fall from the trees, some have hit and run tactics, some are very belligerent and will just charge straight at you. And I wanted to make sure that that was reflected in the system, and so we've created a system where each dino has an AI deck of its own, and it's kind of programmed behavior which reflects that dinosaur's personality and the way that it would react in given situations. So I hope that answers the question.
And the next question from Hannes: how similar to the demo you gave at Spiel will Alaya Chronicles be?
It is more streamlined. So the core idea at Spiel was already there, but we have removed a bunch of what I would just call extraneous fiddling. You know, basically you come up with an idea you want, and I did this with you with the Drowned Earth original, you know, core game as well. You create an experience that you want to create, and then you work out more elegant ways of getting the same thing, so that you remove a bunch of rules and remove 3 rules, and are left with one that does the same thing as those 3 combined to do, hopefully without removing the complexity or the depth of play experience.
It's a real sleek rule set, but
I think it is now. Yeah.
Depth.
Yeah,
a lot of tactical depth.
Yeah, so I don't know, Hannes, what your impression of the demo was. I think I don't remember anybody looking too bored, but I definitely felt like it still needed work, and I think I made it clear at the time that it was a work in progress, but it was what we were working at the moment. But what I'd say basically to summarize is the core idea is the same, but we've streamlined it and removed things that were there that didn't really add much.
So Flo asks, so might AI decks for existing models be a reasonable stretch goal?
Yes, I think that's fair to say. And I will go one further and say that the way that you will after the campaign or during the campaign, the way that you will acquire an AI deck for a dino type which is not included in the core Elia Chronicles box is by buying a special alpha sculpt of that dino type, which will have a special alpha profile, both for Drowned Earth and for Elia Chronicles.
Okay, Sven asks, what's the strength of the new faction?
Strength.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm not going to say too much about it, but they are highly mobile glass cannons with some pretty devastating attacks, but they need to set those attacks up.
It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle in the box.
Yeah, they're a little puzzly, a little bit. They're a bit tricky to play, perhaps, but very powerful when you get them right.
So I would say that this was the first round of questions.
Cool.
We can do later another one.
Yeah, absolutely. Throw them in, and if somebody keeps notes on them. I think Snowiak asked if it was like Blackstone Fortress.
Yes,
and I'm not. I have to be honest, and I think Blackstone Fortress is kind of like a advanced hero quest sort of deal, is it not?
Yeah. That's from my understanding, it's similar sort of thing. Yeah.
Right. So I guess the main difference is that Elia Chronicles has got some dungeon crawl inspiration, but it's not a traditional board game. It's definitely a miniatures game. It's definitely a war game. You're going to be measuring your movement. You're going to be rolling dice. You're going to be doing all that, working out line of sight and all of that sort of thing. Now, we're playing on a slightly smaller board. So while the normal board is 36 by 36 inches, or what's that, 620 by 620 millimeters, something like that. The board for Elia Chronicles, which will be included in the box, and a stretch goal is to make it double-sided and have two different artworks for it, and maybe a different environment as well. That's going to be 600 by 800 millimeters, about 24 by 32 inches, millimeters rather. No, inches. What am I talking about? 24 by 32 inches, which I think is 600 by 800 millimeters. So it's a smaller board. And therefore, we hopefully, I'm not sure, we need, I want to reserve the space in case we have room to have more scenery tiles. But it would be nice if we can include some measuring sticks as well, because, that just makes life a little bit easier.
Are we going to go retro Games Workshop bendy sticks?
No, I'm thinking more like a game like X-Wing, where they've got various different sticks of different sizes for the main movement distances of the game. But I'm guessing that most, if not everyone watching here, is a Drowned Earth fan, so I can talk a bit more about the differences between Elia Chronicles and Drowned Earth in a way that I wouldn't necessarily stress to a broader crowd of people, because then if you don't know what the Drowned Earth mechanics are, you're not interested. In Elia Chronicles, we've only got one set of movement ranges. You're not nailing it and feating to move. There are certain circumstances where your movement is reduced, but we've removed that just to keep things a bit more streamlined and simple. And the same with weapon ranges. Every weapon just has one range. Nailing it or passing or nailing it changes the damage you do and not the distance you shoot. And one of the reasons is because on a smaller board it's just less relevant, and it just keeps things a bit more streamlined, a bit easier to learn, and frees up room to get all the AI mechanics in your head, which honestly are as simple as, if you make noise within 12 inches of a dino, it's going to react to you. And if you move within 5 inches, it's going to react to you. And then in its turn, it's going to flip a card and it's going to resolve the sequence of actions on the card if it's able to, and if it's not, you just skip them. So there we are. Does that sound exciting? I've literally just given away all of the AI mechanics, more or less.
Pierre asks, will there be some more questions? Will there be some sort of base where characters return after or between quests and missions?
Oh, I see. Well, not exactly. So I think I don't want to give too much away about the story, but something there, the inter-game process is probably as important as the games themselves. You will be going on a journey, and you'll be meeting people and doing things and making choices. And some of the choices that you make in between game are pretty significant and important. And perhaps certain things that happen in game will affect how many choices you get after the game. You know, certain things won't be available to you because you didn't do X, Y, or Z. Or conversely, it'll ask you whether you got an achievement in game 5. And if you did, then you'll have this extra option. Or maybe somebody who you would meet, you won't meet them at all because, you know, you offended their grandmother or something. Does that answer the question? I'm not sure it does. A base. You might have an opportunity to establish a base of operations for a certain amount of time.
So one of the other questions is, who's doing the art for like the board and other things?
Well, so the board was designed by Deep Cut Studios, who make our official mat as well, and the tiles, which we haven't seen yet. We've got some game tiles which are basically 2-dimensional scenery which fit onto the board, where you know, the enthusiastic modelers amongst you can use those as a template to scratch build your own scenery. But for those of you who don't want to do that, or who, you know, want to do it at some stage but want to get playing the moment the box lands, the box will contain everything that you need to play. Absolutely everything. It will not contain miniatures. It will contain cardboard standees, which you have the choice of upgrading to miniatures as you choose, as you like, because it might be that some of the models which you need standees for, you actually already have in your collection and you don't want to buy them twice. Although I will be impressed if anyone has as many Dial-Offisaurs as you need for Elia Chronicles. But you know, that,
can you really have enough?
You can't ever have too much. I mean, an army of them looks awesome, but it is something that, while designing the game, something that I thought about very carefully and very seriously is what are you expecting people to spend if they want all of the miniatures and they don't want to play with standees. You know, like a lot of games of this kind, you've got certain tokens which represent potential models at certain stage. So there are what we call ambush tokens, which might be a dino, they might not be, there might be something else, and you wake them up during the course of the game. And the reason for that is you know, very simply, it adds tension, it gives you a sense of progression, it gives you a sense that mostly that you need to creep through this very dangerous environment in the way that, you know, real heroes in the Drowned Earth would. They wouldn't just go blazing through the jungle talking loudly and firing weapons, because, you know, there's some seriously dangerous stuff out there. But also, yeah, exactly. But another thing that's very important to me is, you know, this is a miniatures game. It's not a board game. It's, you know, we can't produce hundreds of low quality plastic figures in China. You know, or we could, but I don't want to do that. I want to stay true to the core of, you know, what the Drowned Earth is about. And so it's not reasonable to expect people to own, you know, 20, 30 dinosaur models to play this game. And so we've been very mindful about the component limits and what you do need to play, and what you may choose to add if you want to. If you want to be absolutely certain that you never ever have to use a standee or a proxy model, there is a hard component limit to every dino type in the game. So in the box there will be 2 small dino types, and you will need 6 of each of those if you absolutely never want to play with standees. If you have 4 of them, you're unlikely to need more than 4 very often. And if you have 2, then probably from time to time you're going to have to reach in and use a proxy or use a standee, that kind of thing. The medium-sized models, sort of, let's call them Utahraptor-sized, 3 of those will be required, and there might be a big kind of boss dino model somewhere required, which we might already have seen the concept art for on the website.
Couldn't possibly comment.
I don't know. Would it be that one? I mean, he looks pretty small, right?
Yeah, really small. Know what you mean.
That guy's not really intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the way that you measure dinosaurs is can they bite? If they can bite your hand off, they're small. If they can bite your head off, they're medium-sized. And if they can swallow you whole, they're large.
Yeah, it's fair.
So we don't measure in banana, okay?
On that note, one of the questions, James, with Eulia's fauna being pretty diverse, apart from dinosaurs, will there be other types of animal encounter?
Not in this campaign. No, we're gonna stick with dinos.
And let's be honest, you can't go wrong by doing that.
Well, I mean, it's going to take me a long time to get bored of dinos. I have to say that there are so many cool types. But you know, I mean, I haven't been reading the chat, so you know, whoever asked that question certainly knows the background, and so that's nice. But I think I would encourage people to scratch build and use plastic toys and do whatever to make their Games of Drowned Earth or even Elia Chronicles, if they want, as cool and exciting as possible. But for the moment, our model range, we're going to be concentrating on dinos for at least some time.
There's a question from Jason. Will there be a collaboration like the gaming mat, but for terrain, or maybe an other mat?
So this is actually something I was discussing with somebody today. Just like last time, I am very cautious of getting into too many arrangements with third-party manufacturers during the Kickstarter, because I want to deliver on time. I want to know that I can fulfill the promises that I make to my backers. And as soon as I start to work with another company whose agenda is different to mine, whose commitment to the project is different to mine, whose belief in delivering on time and at the quality that I believe in is different to mine, then potentially I'm getting into the situation where I have no control over whether I can fulfill a promise that I've made. So what I would say is that I've already begun to discuss with several companies that ancillary products to make to pimp out, you know, your Elia Chronicles game. So we may well see certain pieces of scenery and things like that, which will supplement the game and be you can swap them in instead of using the tiles, etc. You know, I haven't spoken to them about it specifically, but we might, you know, Deep Cut might make a neoprene version of the map. I won't be selling those at Kickstarter, and I won't be including them in the Kickstarter. I'd love to, but I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
That's fair. I mean, as said, it's it's something that we can add at a later date, not too late a date.
I've just seen so many Kickstarters come unstuck because they start to do well, they start to bust through stretch goals, they start looking for new stretch goals, they start talking to other companies, they dream up some ideas, and they end up delivering 6 months, a year late, or they can't deliver at all because the things ended up costing too much, or they altered the shipping. It was something that's very difficult. Is if you're selling products where one thing weighs 25 grams and something else weighs 4.5 kilos, then the shipping becomes very complicated and very difficult, and it's very easy to make a financial mistake. And it wouldn't be the first Kickstarter that managed to get shipping so badly wrong that they actually ended up having to take out a bank loan in order to fulfill, or then just didn't fulfill and crash the project. And that's not something I'd ever do, but I'm the fact that I would own that mistake is why I'm not going to make the mistake at all, if that makes sense. So I hope that sounds okay to people. I mean, I think now, previously I would have been nervous. In the last Kickstarter, I felt very timid about talking in that way. Whereas now I don't so much, because I just feel like that point of view is what I'm doing is protecting the interests of the backers there, because I know how easily things could go wrong. And so I'm just not going to take unnecessary risks with other people's money and make promises casually like that.
Yeah, from experience, I find that when a Kickstarter starts to go a little bit sideways, it's when you start including things like mats and storage cases where they generally have to come from a third party, and a lot of the time they don't even get shipped from the same country.
And I've seen people do things like, t-shirt stretch goals and mugs and, all these other things. And all of those things are cool, but they're not what people are actually buying. They're buying a miniatures game. And I feel like, we might do a t-shirt run on the website one time, and do like a pre-order for t-shirts and things like that. If people want t-shirts, I'd love to be able to do them, but I'm not going to get involved in that in a Kickstarter, because it's just it's way more sensible to make sure that you do the thing that people are actually buying and people are actually enthusiastic about as well as you possibly can, instead of like spreading out things like confetti. Eventually, the more complicated you make it, the more will go wrong. It's the theory with cars, isn't it? Drive a Land Rover and have a welding torch and some tools in your boot, and there's literally nothing that can go wrong with the car that you won't be able to fix yourself. So that's my attitude towards Kickstarter. Keep it really focused. Do lots of research. Make absolutely sure of the things that I promised I will do, and don't deviate from it. And don't. One of the other things that I think is really easy to do is you also get caught up in the same excitement as people, as the backers. And when they suggest something, you're in such a mood to create the feel-good atmosphere and to really include everyone in what you're doing and have that sense of community. And one of the best ways to do that is to listen to the community and find out what they want. And so your instinct is to do all of it. And some of it is maybe like, really good advice and really sensible. And some of it is in isolation, not a bad idea, but in the context of a Kickstarter, not such a good idea. And knowing when to say no is really important, I think.
Yeah.
There's a great question that Kevin's just asked. For someone who's looking to branch into playing the Drowned Earth properly, the full game, will there be enough stats to play a proper game before upgrading to the metal factions?
No. There will be enough to play one faction and a whole load of dinos. So you could certainly have like a battle royale, heroes versus dinos. There will be tokens in the box which represent NPC characters, and the NPC characters will also be available as models. Theoretically, you could also use those as another faction. You'd have to fudge line of sight a little bit, but certainly things like dice action points, wound tokens, those kinds of things, the templates, those will be included in the box. And so the Elia Chronicles box will actually make a pretty good first purchase for somebody wanting to get into the Drowned Earth, because a bunch of the components are shared, because most of the mechanics are the same.
However, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they're still there, James, but if you do get the box, you've got one faction, you can print off standees for the Drowned Earth other factions off of the website if you want to try them.
I don't know if those are still up, but they should be. They certainly should be.
To get a flavour of the Drowned Earth.
Yeah, and to be absolutely clear, I don't want to be deceptive at all. The hero models in the box do not make up a Drowned Earth faction. They are going to have a purpose, or let's also be absolutely clear, they're standees in the box. I think everyone knows that now, but they will be replaceable with models. That'll be another pledge level. So basically, the pledge levels will be core box, standees, dice, cards, mat, terrain, everything you need to play. No miniatures. Tier 1, the next pledge level will be all of that, but with the hero models. The next tier will be that with enough dinos to get on with. The hero models will have a purpose in the Drowned Earth. Hopefully, I'm working out the finer detail. I should have worked it out before Kickstarter. I don't want to make promises I can't keep, but I think that people have for quite some time for Drowned Earth asked if they can have unnamed troop profiles. The hero models, if we get to the stretch goals where we are able to provide arm swaps, head swaps, option swaps for the hero models for Elia Chronicles, then that pack of hero models will double as troops for the Drowned Earth, and you'll be able to build them in certain ways to build the different troop profiles for the different factions in Drowned Earth.
Excellent.
So I think we're done sharing that screen, aren't we? Should we go back to our fantastic faces? Sure, it's what everyone's come to see us, not a massive baryonyx.
Watch the account go through the floor.
yeah. It was quite high. We'll lose a few in the next few minutes. But yeah, I mean, I'm super enthusiastic about the Kickstarter. I think it's going to be really exciting. I think Elia Chronicles is a great gateway product and should hopefully get more people into the Drowned Earth, as well as providing a totally new way for Drowned Earth players to use the models they've already got, to engage with the world, the universe, to go on basically a really what I hope people will find a really, really cool, exciting story with a bunch of mystery, a bunch of different choices. Play it through multiple times. You'll be able to play it through in different ways. The fact that you've got those AI models means and AI decks means that the behavior of the dinosaurs is unpredictable but not random, if that makes sense. That you once you learn the particular dino types and their particular personalities, you'll be able to anticipate what they might do, but of course until you flip that card you don't know what they will do. And something else that I'll say is that we will also, I hope, again it's a stretch goal, something we're working on, is providing rules to swap out dino types or to add more dino types. So as I've said, there are four in the box, 4 dino types in the box, and there's the possibility to swap some of those out or to add a few more to mix things up a little bit, maybe increase or decrease the difficulty a little bit.
Yeah, hardcore mode, swap all the Dillos with Utahraptors and all the Utahraptors with Ceratosaurus.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah.
Flo has a good question. Can I get multiple sets of hero models as an add-on so I can build them in multiple configuration swaps?
Yes, absolutely. The set is designed to do that. So if you are I have to be completely clear and say that if you want every troop configuration, there might be a little bit of low-level conversion work necessary. And if you want your models to look a particular way, like, so for example, instead of having the sniper rifle strapped on the back, you want it in the hand, then you might have to do some conversion work for that. But there will, I am hoping, again, this is a stretch goal in order to be able to get these assets sculpted. But what I'm hoping is that the box will come with core bodies, head choices, weapon choices, multiple arm choices, and you'll be able to mix and match them between the different profiles. And maybe we'll even look at doing a little blister pack. Just as Simon thought, the view counts dropped by 3. But we might even do a little blister pack with some extra stuff in, so that you can buy multiple packs in order to build multiple models, but you don't have to buy an extra pack to get that second weapon, because that's annoying, isn't it?
Exactly. I think it's worth reiterating that a lot of these Fins guys are going to be stretch goal focused. So when it goes live, shout and scream it from the rooftops for us, and let's get as many people back in it so we can open as many Fins as we can.
Yeah,
we will try to keep you guys entertained in the time of the Kickstarter. Perhaps some social stretch goals that could be a thing. Get ready to team up and let us get this hype train rolling.
Well, all I'm just going to say 2 phrases, and also I'm going to live on air rib you a little bit, Dominic. So we were discussing, and we're not going to go into detail about what this would be, mostly because we don't have any detail. We're brainstorming ideas, but there might be an opportunity for people during the campaign to join Team Pirate or Team Hero. Come on, when there's a Team Pirate, nobody is going to want to join Team Hero. Come on, so it's going to be Team Pirate and Team Dino. Yeah, Pirates. That's an actual choice. I actually have to stop and think about which one I want to join. And I think, in the interest of fairness, I had better not join either of them. I better let you guys fight it out. But what about if we created some little Facebook avatar, like a Facebook overlay? Can we do that? So you can represent which team during the campaign you can represent on Facebook and on Kickstarter, which team affiliation you've gone for. And we're going to be running maybe not just one, maybe a number of different events to find out who's the ultimate winner between Team Dino and Team Pirate.
Is there really a loser in that argument?
Yes, there has to be.
Yeah.
2 enter, 1 may leave.
Where in the other one?
Team Dino. Come on, everybody want to be a pirate.
Seems mildly unfair. One of the guys has got
of Sean will be a dino.
I don't know. I'm conflicted on that one. I feel like Team Hero. Come on, nobody wants to join Team Hero if you can be Team Pirate.
Nobody. Yeah.
Pirate hat.
Dino with a pirate hat. I suppose that should be me, right? I'm neutral in this whole thing, but I know what you did, Dominic. That you wanted Team Dino to win so much that you decided to name the other team something rubbish.
Yeah.
We could call it like the German Team Freibeuter.
You're going to have to explain.
It's Team Freebooter.
Freebooter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That I shouldn't have needed that translating, really, should I? But so, any more questions? I think what did Will say? Wise words with regard to the Kickstarter approach, but you definitely need to include a T-Rex. Yeah, well, no promises there, I'm afraid. I'm still
demo deck, walk around.
yeah, no, I'm still loving the idea of a T-Rex at some stage, but we're not quite there yet. But I'm not going to say too much about it because again, it's something that's for the future. But I have been talking to somebody about some sort of interesting manufacturing ideas that might make that more doable than it is at the moment, at a reasonable price point. You know, this is the main issue. Is you know, it would be really expensive and really expensive to ship because the thing's just going to be a massive lump of tin. But yeah, so Flo says yes if the swaps become a reality. So yeah, a lot of these sort of stretch goal things that, like, you know, I suppose it's fair to say I'm sort of, you know, my British sense of modesty makes me not want to be a salesman. But I think that one of the important things to note, and I might even say this in the Kickstarter video, but it just sounds a bit pushy. This is a real Kickstarter. This is a Kickstarter where we actually do not have a fully finished, completely paid for game ready to launch and ready to go, and all we need to do is push the manufacturing button as soon as we've got people's money. We really genuinely, in order to make the product as good as it can be, we genuinely need people's pledges, and we genuinely need a Kickstarter to fund this thing into existence. I mean, we could just about manage to get out the core box, but we wouldn't be able to do the core box with any miniature sculpts. Those would have to be later releases, and you know, that would depend on sales and all the rest of it. So, you know, unlike most of the Kickstarters that you see nowadays, this is a real one. This is what Kickstarter was actually meant for.
Yeah, it's not the pre-order page that most of them actually are at the moment.
And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I back total pre-order Kickstarters all the time. I don't want to be elitist about it, but I just want to be clear with people that this isn't, you know, we haven't sort of developed a whole vault of stuff and we'll make some fake stretch goals and pretend that we need X amount of money in order to do Y when we've already done Y. You know, this is definitely not like that.
And I just want to say something to the German followers.
Take it away.
I've talked to James. We won't make a German translation until we get up to 500 German backer. Then we could talk about that.
Yeah,
so guys, get on with that.
Yeah, it's that's another thing. It's just, you know, this is a boxed product where we have to do in order to make it reasonable, and I'm hoping that the core box is going to be you know, the entry level price for the core pledge level is going to be quite reasonable. You know, I'm hoping it's you know, again, we are in the fine-tuning stages of the quote from China, but we're hoping it will certainly be under 50 euros. And in order to get the price at that sort of level, you need to do a big print run. You can't just make a few hundred copies. Then it ends up being very expensive to do, because most of the costs are on the front end. It's the tooling and what have you. And of course, the developing of the artwork and the sculpts and the art resources. And I need to say something about the tiles, because we spoke about it earlier on. But the flat scenery tiles, which represent things like crashed spaceships and you know, motorboats and jungle terrain and these sorts of things. They're designed by a guy who some of you might have heard of, Henning Ludvigsen, who is the guy who designed all the tiles for Imperial Assault, a lot of the tiles for Descent. He's done a lot of work with Fantasy Flight. He's done a lot of work with Cool Mini or Not, making board tiles for the latest Zombicide game. You know, he's a real sort of industry veteran, and I am looking forward over the next 10 days or so, starting to leak some of the artwork for these tiles. But it's out of this world. It's really fantastic.
Oh, it's absolutely phenomenal. Some of the stuff we've seen.
I mean, it's eye-bleedingly expensive to commission, but I just really felt like it needed it. You know, you want that out of the box, lavish feel, and it really evokes the atmosphere of the Drowned Earth in a really interesting way. And I really look forward to people scratch building their own scenery and saying, I don't want to use flat tiles. That's completely cool, but I want to make sure that the game is completely playable outside the box. You don't need to lift a paintbrush. You don't need to lift a finger. You don't need to do anything if you don't want to. And more importantly, and I think this is what appeals to me as a gamer, you absolutely do want to assemble and paint all your models and scratch build all of the terrain, but you can't do it all tomorrow. It's going to take 6 months realistically. And you don't want the box to sit in the cupboard collecting dust for 6 months. So you can get playing tomorrow, assemble your heroes, get them painted, start playing next week, and slowly start painting the dinos and replacing the dino models. You know, you've got all the dino models you need, but you've only got 3 painted. Probably you're not going to have more than 3 of the same dino type on the table all that often. And so one dies, you take it off, another one pops up out of the bushes, you put back the painted one that you just removed. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunity to get playing straight away, to get into the story and to start experiencing it without the usual barrier that we as wargamers always have, which is you've got to paint your stuff, you've got to find the scenery, you've got to, you know, do all that sort of front end stuff.
Yeah, this genuinely, I know it's often thrown about phrase, but this genuinely will pass the Christmas morning check. Where you get a box on Christmas morning, you open it, and bang, you're out, you're playing. You haven't got that. No, I'll think about it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to punch. You've got to punch some. You've got to pop some punch tokens. And stick the standees in the standee slots and you're ready to go. As simple as that. Flo
want to have a motorboat as a tile. So he could use his motorboat he has already.
Need to have motorboats going down the river.
I'm just going to say it because I showed it to Christoph from Zen Terrain today. Henning, who designed the tiles, based the motorboat art for the motorboat tile on the Zen Terrain motorboat piece. So if you have that, you can 100% already use that. And I also spoke to Christoph. Again, I said I was talking to somebody about today about not including third-party products in the Kickstarter and promising things that haven't yet been made in the Kickstarter that I don't have any control over. But we did discuss the idea of a number of the tiles lend themselves to MDF or HDF terrain, and Christoph is definitely enthusiastic to make some designs for some of these things. And also, I can see Sean saying, what's the estimated delivery date for the Kickstarter? We're going to say 11 months, the same as we did with the last Kickstarter. Well, sorry, we're going to say 12 months, and I'm going to try and deliver a month early again. But yeah, I mean, I'll do what I can. But of course, you know, the quality of the product is the most tantamount thing. But I take every aspect of it seriously. But that gives us time to get some MDF, HDF stuff and some board mats and things like that developed and onto the marketplace. So maybe as the Kickstarter drops, we or Zen Terrain at least will be able to offer people some exciting options.
And the more stretch goals you open, the busier our diaries get with playtesting.
Yeah, well, that's also another thing. I mean, I am far more relaxed about making the playtesters do lots of work to make sure that we get cool profile cards and new scenery. Sorry, not scenery, new scenario ideas and that sort of thing than I am to start promising third-party products. But But at the same time, we also have to be careful about that because it's a finite resource. But I'll say we've got a number of people watching. We are still always on the lookout for dedicated, and dedicated is a key word, playtesters. Dedication doesn't mean that you have to play week in, week out. It just means that when you do play, you are willing to give high quality feedback and that you're actually going to participate. So we've had a number of people join the playtesting team who never really end up doing anything, and it's a shame, and it's not the end of the world, but good enthusiastic energetic playtesters is always something we need. And Simon, take it away. How do people go about getting in the Wayfarers program if anybody decides they want to?
Yes, I mean, playtesting's amazing. We can't have enough playtesters. Spreading the load, getting more stuff. However, great first step is joining what we call the Wayfarer program. So it's managed by myself and Sean, who's in the chat, who looks after the American side. Basically, think of it as our demo team, our pundits or press scanners, or however you want to think about it. If you go on the website, there is a button you can click, apply for the Wayfarers. You'll instantly drop me an email and I'll come back to you. We are in the process of making a few changes on it. So historically, we've asked for painted teams. We're relaxing on that a little bit. So we want you to have 2 crews. Just generally, it's a bit hard to demo the game with only one person, one
yeah,
crew.
Definitely. I mean, just to clarify, we still want Wayfarers to be fully painted. The situation is that a lot of people want to join the Wayfarers program, and they make an inquiry and then say, okay, so I need painted models. So I'll get back to you when I paint the models. And then, of course, one thing leads to another, and we all know when an idea is in your head, that's the best time to do it, because it'll go, disappear, and something else will come in, and you'll forget really, really quickly. And so what we're saying basically is that we're going to give a reasonably fat grace period to people joining the Wayfarers program, saying, we really want you to be painted, but do it in your own time, because otherwise it's too much of a demand on people's time, I think, to expect them to get fully painted overnight.
Yeah, we want you guys to to keep that fire burning in your stomach for wanting to get this game out there. And yeah, I mean, demoing with white metal models is not ideal unless they happen to be a robot. However, it's a far better demo than not doing a demo at all. So that's definitely part of it. And in reward, you may be in a Facebook group that may get some occasional tidbits and sneak peeks. And for the people who don't like Facebook, we've also got a specific Discord server for the Wayfarers. So don't feel left out if you don't like Facebook.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
That's a good point. The Discord server has been great for exactly that reason. Not everyone uses Facebook, and it's very difficult to run a kind of really multi-channel operation. But Discord makes that very easy. Definitely.
And so yeah, Wayfarers. Anybody wants demos? These are the guys that are going to be going out and helping us spread the love. We've got some. I don't think we're quite ready to do some announcements at the moment, but we will be doing some announcements shortly around how we can help you guys that maybe live a little bit further away from the rest of us.
Yeah. How can play by post demos, something like that, maybe?
Smoke signal.
Yeah. Sounds good. But yes, if you've been paying attention over the last I guess month or so, you might have an inkling about what that's about. But we're finding solutions to beat this whole isolation and quarantine thing, and get people playing and still enjoying each other's company and playing games.
Definitely. So yeah, we've got some stuff coming. Demos will be a lot easier worldwide. We may even have a way of getting some games going worldwide as well. So
yeah, exciting. I think we're gonna have a great Kickstarter month. We'll stream every week like this. I will be doing video updates. I think I'll obviously send out the regular Kickstarter updates, but I think we'll also do a TLDR video version, because you send people a wall of it. I know I get a sort of huge long email, and I kind of skim it and just think, yeah, whatever. But if it's a video, I'm way more inclined to click on it, particularly a video with subtitles. I have to say, Facebook's terrible for that, isn't it? Facebook's great for that when the video has subtitles, because your phone's on silent and your girlfriend's asleep next to you, and obviously you've got insomnia and you're scrolling through Facebook in the middle of the night. The last thing you want is some video to pop up and start making noise. So subtitles is a good thing. And Dominic is obviously going to translate all of the subtitles into German, aren't you? So I'm being really mean. Keep on putting you on the hook on air. But no, of course, I think something that we need to be clear about is we had a very interesting chat with Toby from Beer and Bretzel last week about gaming in a non-native language, and what some of the complications are of the translations and the not translating things. But I think that doing any kind of marketing or translating video links into video text into German or what have you, just kind of implies that the game is available in German. So I feel like it's probably deceptive and not a good idea.
I have to say, we will promote the Kickstarter in some German channels. So watch out for Toby's Beer and Bretzel. Perhaps there will be something. And also in different forums and Facebook. And I try to promote the Kickstarter everywhere I could my hands get on. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all great, and I think everyone who watches Toby's channel is used to the idea that a lot of the games that he plays are don't have a translation, or perhaps don't have a good translation, and so that seems fine. But if it's me, if I do a German language Kickstarter video, for example, and you can switch on the German subtitles, then if you need the German subtitles on the video, then maybe you don't want to play a game in English, and then that seems a little bit wrong, perhaps. Although I know it was something that in the last Kickstarter people asked for. They wanted French subtitles, and we had quite a lot of backers in France. Eventually, we did get a French translation, but that was quite some time later when we started working with we were lucky enough to be approached by a distributor in France that was willing to translate the rulebook.
Yeah, so we're heading into the last few weeks prior to Kickstarter, so expect the hype and the.
So did somebody ask a date? Sorry, Simon, I've interrupted you.
Yeah, so as James is about to confirm, we're getting close. So
the launch date is the 5th of May. So that is in exactly 2 weeks, isn't it? Today's Tuesday, so we launch on a Tuesday. Yeah. Scary. I feel totally underprepared.
Seemed like a good idea at the time, didn't it?
Well, it does. And I know amount of preparation you can do, which is enough. But this time, obviously, I was completely unknown. Nobody knew anything about the draft or so I spent a long time trying to build up that interest and build up that following. And this time around, of course, that's necessary as well. But I've been more concerned with the quality of the product and making sure that we're happy with what it is that we're promoting in a way which I had to do that much earlier in the process, and then ended up doing a lot of work after the Kickstarter, really, particularly rulebook related, to really tidy up the text and really make it as good as it could be. And I think that may well be necessary this time as well, depending on how things go after the Kickstarter. So to be absolutely clear, We have the core mechanics are written, and it's purring as an engine. It's purring very smoothly. I have the story completely developed. I know what will happen at every stage and what the choices will be, and how those will affect people. We have not designed all the scenarios, and we definitely haven't fully balanced the profiles. So lots of playtesting to really get things polished after the Kickstarter. But we probably won't do any rewriting of the rules. Well, I say that, but this is me. You know, as soon as I the bolt from the blue, and I see a better way to do something, or I see a way to make a fiddly rule into a simple one, I'll definitely do that. I'm not going to hold back on making the product better if I think I can, but that certainly won't be the main focus.
I'm getting flashbacks from 3 years ago.
Yeah, but it was worth it, right? I feel I'm really proud of that rule book. Very few people have ever managed to find a mistake in it, we've had to do very few clarifications of the rules, and I feel like it's solid. You know, this one will, just again to manage expectations. The rule book, you know, the rules portion of the main rule book is 40 pages long. And the reason for that is because it's a competitive game and you really need to nail down the detail. This one will be written in a much more colloquial way. We will teach you the rules through a prologue scenario, which will effectively be a walkthrough. So you will learn by reading through a scenario that you play through while you're reading it. And then once you finish that scenario, you will have the next part of the rulebook will be the rules reference, which will have an index that you can refer back to if you need to look up anything in detail. And obviously there'll be player aids. But the idea is that this game is, in terms of rules content, a little bit lighter, a little bit easier to digest, and that the way that the rules are written will be much friendlier and more colloquial, less legal, because they don't need to be as precise in terms of not just unambiguous in the sense of not being open to interpretation, but not open. We will obviously make them unambiguous and not open to interpretation, but they don't need to be written so precisely, because what you're trying to do is battle this imaginary evil mind that is trying to pull your rules apart in order to gain some kind of cheesy advantage in game. You know, we've all had a game against that guy who's like, well, I think you'll find you could interpret that comma there to mean that actually, and it's like, come on, you know what the designer meant. You know they didn't mean that. Yeah, when you write a rule set, you have a choice. If you're making a war game, you're doing a disservice to the person that has to play that game if you've made that possible in your game. That's my philosophy anyway.
And you know, we've hosted a few tournaments over in the UK in the last 3 years, and genuinely can't think of a time when that has come up.
Yeah. I've never seen anyone have an argument over about the Drowned Earth. The only negative play experiences I've ever seen people have is lots of feats in a row. And if you bought and again, I'm sorry, I meant to do it last week and I didn't. The new edit of the rulebook, which is just 2 changes and 1 correction to a spelling mistake. The 2 changes are that we are substituting the name of Rend. Everyone gets Pierce and Rend confused because they're named badly. And then, I mean, they should be reversed really, but instead of reversing them, which would double the confusion, we're just removing the word Rend and replacing it with Sunder. That's change number 1. And change number 2 is that unless you are playing in narrative mode, and that's your choice, but tournaments won't be narrative mode, doubles are no longer feats. Doubles are blunders if it's over the stat, but if it's equal or under the stat, it's no longer a feat. And the reason is because we were just seeing too many people. I did the maths on how likely it was for you to roll 3 or 4 feats in a row, and the chances are really insignificant. But what I didn't take into consideration, and I'm happy to admit this live and say this was my mistake, I didn't see through the possibilities. If you've got a model with 2 activation points and you command to give them 4 activation points, then you're not looking for the chances of them feating 4 times in a row. You're looking for the chances of them feating any time within 4 activations. And if they feat every other activation, that's not nearly as unlikely as feating 3 times in a row. Feating 4 times, 1 time after the other, or feating half the times, 1 time after the other, is really, it's way more likely than I had taken consideration for. And I've only ever seen people get frustrated where they are just staring at watching their opponent go on some crazy feat run. And so we decided, for people who like to play in that kind of narrative fun way, and they don't get disparaged by that sort of thing, that's absolutely fine and cool. And that's my preference for a play style personally, but I can completely understand that it's frustrating for some other people. So that is a rules change, which will be reflected in Elia Chronicles and will be reflected on the website very soon. If you bought a rulebook recently, you bought the second printing, which has a few error corrections. It's not a second edition. There's really very little different about it. It's just those 2 small changes.
Yeah, the only rage angry moment I've ever seen was a person getting angry with their dice when Fan Kane fell from the top of a building by blundering.
I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, another thing that I love it. I love it when a model like fails to climb. It doesn't just pass. It's like, no, fail, boom, and it's standing at the bottom of the thing trying to climb up. Boom, no, and then on the third one it feats, and it's almost like it was embarrassed and pulled it out the bag at the last minute to try and make up for its shame. It's when
they manage to feat to the top of a building and then fall off.
Yeah. Always fun.
Pierre has another question.
Okay.
Will Tales from Elia take place during the same time frame like the regular game? So
a regular game being Drowned Earth.
Calendar year, yeah.
Yep.
Is there any Ulian calendar, or if so, will both games play during the same time period?
Yes, yeah. Both games are set during the same time period, completely. And at some stage we might even see personalities from Drowned Earth, the existing Drowned Earth range, feature. But of course, it makes sense because the pirate faction that we have, some of the models in that pirate box are going to be. It's a Drowned Earth faction, to be completely clear. But there'll be NPCs in Raptorclaw Island. And so if you want to substitute your NPCs for actual models instead of tokens, then you'll want the pirate box. But they're characters who can fight against Nyx and Canada and what have you.
Just remember, guys, Elia Chronicles is the name of the game, not this first chapter. So what we're kickstarting is the Raptorclaw Island, which is the first chapter of the new game, Elia Chronicles. So a lot more to come.
Yeah, so and we won't make the Games Workshop mistake of making the chapter name bigger than the.
You mean it's not called? You mean it's not called Shadespire?
You know what? I say that, but actually, it completely. Raptorclaw Island is a big, fat, ridiculous logo that looks like something out of. It looks like a kind of 1990s Indiana Jones video game logo. It's obscene. I love it. But Elia Chronicles is in the very tasteful, as you've already seen, the very tasteful Drowned Earth miniatures game script with a little running guy on top and what have you, completely understated. And then we've just got this real like Raptorclaw Island ludicrous logo. We'll be teasing it soon. It's awesome.
So the question earlier about Limos possibly turning up, maybe not in Raptorclaw Island, but you never know what might happen in a later chapter.
Yeah, exactly. I think that sort of stuff is too fun not to do. And also something else that we can look at the possibility of doing is some scenarios for Ulia Chronicles, which are standalone. And so we might release a little pack where, you know, it's a firm scenario and you've got firm NPCs and dinos that that are the antagonists in this particular standalone scenario, and you'll have a pack with the scenario cards and some AI cards for firm models, something like that, for example. It all depends on how popular this is, how well the Kickstarter does, but also how many people really get involved and are excited about it and want to play it. Because if there's demand for those kinds of products, we'll absolutely make them. It'll be really fun. And I really love the idea of you trying to sneak into the Artifactors HQ to steal some artifact or something like that, and then finding, you know, Nyx and her crew are guarding this thing.
Nobody gets past the Artifactors, James. You know that.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Okay,
remember,
so
guys, the Kickstarter's not just for Ulia Chronicles. You'll also get the AI element. So
yeah,
you'll be able to do solo gaming or plenty if this continues for too long.
Yeah, that's it. There's plenty of stuff out there. I wish I'd done it last year and was delivering right now. Oh my god, no! I've just thought of what a nightmare it would be to try and deliver a Kickstarter in the current situation. Just it's what everyone wants, and that's why I mentioned Leader Games and Root earlier. And one of the reasons why I really feel for them, and one of the reasons why I want that Kickstarter to arrive soon, is because it had a whole load of automata rules to play a lot of the factions as bots, basically. So you could sit there and play yours, but control a number of other factions. The other factions will be controlled by the game, and that's just exactly what everyone needs right now. And it's stuck on some shipping container on a ship that isn't moving. So very sad.
Yes.
So I think we're just winding up, guys. So if anybody's got any last minute questions, now's the time to throw them out there. But just to summarize, let's Wayfarers, if you hop on and join the Wayfarers program if you want to help us promote the Drowned Earth or Ulia Chronicles, or both, that would be great.
Great to have you as a part with us, guys.
We would also really be excited to hear anybody's ideas of Kickstarter promotion ideas, things you'd like to see during the Kickstarter events. Just like last time, what my philosophy of a Kickstarter is, we're basically going to have a 4-week online party. We're going to do loads of things, lots of activities, lots of initiatives. You're not allowed to call them competitions, so there'll be participation events without a winner. But you know, there'll be lots of opportunities to put your stamp on Ulia Chronicles and really contribute to the Kickstarter, and contribute to the game, contribute to the release. We're really excited about doing that, highly motivated to do all that kind of stuff. And I'd really love to hear all of your ideas, everything people can do to beat the drum, share the social media stuff that we're putting out. If the game looks interesting to anybody who you know, make them aware of it. Maybe this is the push that some of your friends who've been wavering over playing the Drowned Earth, this might be the push that gets them into it. It's
the perfect stepping stone, guys. It really is. It's going to be, for those of us that already played the Drowned Earth, we're going to love it. It's a new, fresh take on the world that we've already fallen in love with. But you know, for those of us trying to get our friends, our significant others involved, it's a great stepping stone. You're going to get them hooked in no time.
Yeah, I think so. It's a lighter, more narrative experience with less crazy movement and crazy dice rolls and that kind of thing, but a much more dungeon crawler, almost role play game like story experience. You know, you're really
it's the perfect gateway. It's the perfect gateway game to go from board games to tabletop games.
I hope any board gamers out there that are the expression I'm using is board game war game curious. Then this is probably a good sort of hybrid product. So yeah.
Also, you could gateway to the pen and paper RPG sessions.
Indeed. Well, actually, let's give a quick shout out because some of you guys may or may not know that I wrote a one-page RPG rule set for the Paint All the Minis convention, and Yoka Dominic has been running it in German language, and Pete Shepherd has been running it in English on our Discord channel. How do people join the Discord channel?
So what we'll do, guys, is we'll put either myself or Sean will put a link into the Facebook group. So see us on the Facebook group. There'll be a link to join in the Discord straight away from there.
Right. Maybe we can chuck it in the comments section.
100%. We'll stick it in the. James, if you could stick it in the description after the video's live, we'll get that in the description. It will take you straight in. Within that Discord server, you've got both the English one and the German speaking one, which is crazy busy with the amount of stuff that's going on. I don't know how you keep up with it, Dominic.
The German. Go on, Simon.
No, you carry on.
The German RPG run is tomorrow, and we'll do our first German run. And yesterday I played with Pete, and it was a lot of fun. Simon was there as well. Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing better than rolling back on your tail and kicking somebody off of a walkway.
Jumping from a balcony as a Barangi with a big sledgehammer and smashing a Saurian into the ground.
Well, I'm totally jealous.
It was amazing. I think the plan is, speaking with Pete, that we're going to try and run an English speaking one, and I'm sure it'll be the same with you, Dominic, every couple of weeks. And we'll see how these develop. They're always one-shot ones at the moment. Feel free to bring the same character along. But let's get as many people as going. We've got a voice chat in the Discord server for doing them. And if we need to create more, we'll create more. Let's see how many we can get going, and how far we can take that idea.
Awesome. I wanted to join, but I didn't want to give Pete performance anxiety by sitting there and judging his world building. Well, actually, I think you'll find that's not quite correct. I thought that would be mean trolling, so I didn't do it. But you never know. I might
on the next one.
And maybe during the Kickstarter, we will run an Raptor Claw Island themed, or at least Thousand Island themed RPG session, or several over the course of the Kickstarter, and maybe
perhaps
we will broadcast
tie-in.
them. Perhaps a tie-in, exactly. So
could there be some pirates in the RPG?
It would be rude if there weren't. So any final questions in the chat?
Christoph asks, will the TDE boxes, the core boxes and blisters be available at the Kickstarter or Pledge Manager?
Almost certainly, yeah. I need to make absolutely certain that the fulfillment methods we're going to do that we'll use for the Kickstarter will make that possible. But I mean, it would be crazy. It would be crazy not to.
Yeah.
So 99% yes.
Any more questions from you guys?
No, I think we're probably good. So, gentlemen, awesome. Thank you very much for attending. We will be back next week, or some of us will be back next week. And hope everybody is coping well with the lockdown, and take good care, keep busy, play games in whatever way you can, and paint the backlog. You're going to need the painting space after Elia Chronicles drops, I think.
Yeah. And do you know what? There's been amazing interaction with the guys on both Facebook and Discord, sharing your painting work. Please carry on sharing it. It's amazing for us to see it. It's the highlight of the day thing people are doing. I
really can't tell you how gratifying it is to see people painting models that were just ideas in my head, and then actually like role playing it, you know, in a world that I've created, and interacting over the internet and in completely different countries, different time zones, all around this sort of crazy idea that I thought, you know, shall I shoot myself in the foot financially for the rest of my life, but do something I love? Yes, let's do it. You know, it's worth it. It really is. Excellent.
So I will do a competition shout out. In fact, I want to see your blue wings in the Discord and Facebook. How you paint your blue wings.
Yeah.
So that at the end of at the start of the Kickstarter, I will call out the king of the blue chicken.
I like it. I like it. Excellent. Guys, thanks very much. Take good care.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.